Starting UAV tasking.
UAV is hostiles have captured the hard point. Hard point is secure.
One by.
UAV fuel check 50%.
Hostile shooter.
Hard point active. Hard point locked down. Hard point is secure.
Kills.
Hard point locked down. Hostiles have the hard point. Hard point is secure. Hostiles have captured the hard point.
Tango deleted.
Hard point locked. Driving RTX.
Scanning area with scout pulse.
Hard point identified.
That's fine. Enemy removed. 5 enemies down. Payback is an ornery
Hard
bitch.
point locked down. Hard point is secure.
Tango deleted.
UAV flight time 50% on my mount.
Crimson's on their heels. Hit 'em hard.
Bye-bye.
Hostiles have captured the hard point.
Priority tasking request received. UAV
Hard point locked down.
Hi guys, what's up? I've been getting a lot of questions about my Black Ops 6 settings, specifically for mouse and keyboard, but I can show you my controller settings as well. Mouse sensitivity, I use 2.9. I suggest anywhere from around 2.3 to about 3.5 if you're unsure of what you want to be using. I think for Call of Duty, that's around a good sense to use. Now, mouse advanced settings, you want to have this on after zoom in the BO6 beta. I usually use instant, but it is bugged, so I suggest using after zoom. Anytime you pick up a gun with a scope, it's gonna feel really weird unless you have this on this setting. ADS sensitivity type, a lot of people said to use legacy for like a one-to-one feeling. Personally, I don't like legacy. I feel like it makes my sense feel way too quick, and I tend to miss a lot of shots on it. So I prefer relative, and I use 1.78. I think if you're on 1080p or 1440p, you want to use 1.78. It'll probably be on 1.33, but I suggest this. Movement, I use tactical sprint assist, aka you press W and it sprints for you. I find movement a lot easier to do with that. By the way, a good setting to change, especially if you use tactical sprint assist, you want to change this. It'll be on 400, I believe, is the default. You want to change it to 0. It'll make your sprinting feel way more snappy. Now, my controller settings, I'm probably 99% of the time I play mouse and keyboard, but sometimes I do plug the controller in, you know, especially after getting my shit rocked by roller players. Sometimes I have to do it back to them. So this is all, again, personal preference, really. There's nothing in here you really have to copy. I prefer playing bumper jump to tactical because the default settings are, like, I think you jump with A or something. It's awful. I suggest, if you don't have paddles, definitely try bumper jumper. Sense, it's all personal preference. I use 7.7. I take vibration off because it feels awful to me. So for your dead zone, inputs on the controller, there's one very important tip I can give you guys. For your right stick minimum, you want this as low as it can go without any sort of stick drift happening. For your left stick, put it as low as it can go, but to where you have the tiniest little bit of stick drift happening. Because as long as your left stick is always like slightly moving, in gunfights you will get more rotational aim assist. And then left stick max, so how far you have to press your left stick to start movement. I like it on about 85, so I don't have to press it all the way to start moving. Right stick max, 99, I don't change that. These two, left trigger, right trigger, put it on 0. You don't want any, like, resistance when you're pressing the triggers to shoot. Okay, onto graphics, and this, a lot of people ask me for my graphic settings. It's pretty simple. I play borderless because I like to tab out a lot, especially when I'm streaming and stuff. Eco mode preset, I put it on custom because I like to turn VSync off. Frame rate unlimited. I don't want to cap my frame rate. I want it to go as high as it possibly can. Pretty much for everyone, I highly recommend Fidelity FX Cast and put it on 100. This will make your game look very, like, it'll have like a sharpening effect and you'll be able to see people and the maps a lot better. The only people I recommend don't put this on is if you don't have very good FPS. If you put this on and your FPS drops a lot, it feels laggy, turn it off. If you have a AMD GPU, like I have a 6900 XT, so I use FSR 3.0, and I like to put it on quality. If you want, or if you need more frames, you can turn frame generation on, but I don't usually recommend it because it can introduce more input latency. It's just if you're on a very low-end machine and you need the extra frames. If you are on a NVIDIA graphics card, like a 3070, 4090, anything like that, you will want to put DLSS on. It won't look as good as Fidelity, but if, again, you need the frames, use that. And then down to details and textures, pretty much everything in here, like low, minimal, off. For me, very low and low doesn't make much of a difference in frames, so just mess around with that one. You could even do high, you'll get lower frames, but your game will look better. It just depends what you're trying to get out of the game. Obviously, I'm trying to get the highest FPS possible, so. One other important thing, I highly recommend putting on-demand texture streaming on minimal. Allocated texture cache size, put it on 16. And if your internet is very slow, if you don't have a great upload speed, turn this on and put daily download limit on 1. And what this does is it downloads textures from the servers as you're playing. So it's going to tank your connection and your FPS. You definitely want this on these settings. Unless you have like giga internet, then you can just, it doesn't matter. And then local texture streaming low. Now view, I have 120. I always play max FOV in any game. It's just what I like. I recommend 105 to 120. I wouldn't go below that. It's just more what you're comfortable with. Mouse and keyboard, I always recommend 120 because 120 and affected, because it'll give you a more zoomed out view and it'll look like your gun is having less visual recoil. And then same with these, put these on wide. Again, it just makes it look like you have less recoil because your screen is more zoomed out. Motion blur, you don't want that shit on. Motion blur is terrible. Turn it off every game, especially Call of Duty. And depth of field. I'm not sure where depth of field is, but it'll be a setting somewhere. Turn that off. Inverted flashbang, doesn't really matter. It just makes it black instead of white. And first person camera movement on least. Audio tab, I don't really change anything in here. I don't really need to. I put reduced tinnitus sound on because I don't like that like ringing noise that it makes. And then I have my gain really low because I have a mix amp. You just put this on what sounds good to you. Now in interface, there's one really important thing in here that I suggest changing. You want to go to gameplay HUD and minimap shape, change it from round to square. It covers more of the minimap space, so you can see a little more. You can see red dots a little further than the round one. Oh, and one other thing as well, in interface, go to readability, and go to color customization, and you can change all the colors. I like to put myself on orange, but a big thing I suggest people doing, it makes your game look so much better, so much like more vibrant. Use filter 2, color filter target both, and put them both on 100. It just, yeah, it gives more vibrance to the game. And then go to enemy, open it, custom color. I mean, I like my enemies red. If you like them a different color, choose whatever that is. But then make sure the saturation and the brightness is all the way it can go. And apply custom color. And it'll just be brighter. So when you see like an enemy in the distance and you see that little name tag, it'll be like brighter and you can see it easier. So yeah, that is about everything there is to show you guys. That is my settings, my sensitivity. If you guys want to see more, just let me know. I can do like a class setup or something. I'm still finding what the best things to use in the beta are. But once I go back to MW3, I can show my MW3 classes and stuff. Pretty locked in with those.